In high school, I lived in an all-boy dormitory in China. Our life was very harsh at the time because the living condition in the dormitory is not very good. We have one shower room, and each night, this is a pretty big shower room. It has like 30-something shower heads. So each night, like around 20 kids just go to the shower room at around the same time, and then we shower for 10 to 15 minutes. Naked, of course, shower. But essentially, like, because it's all boys school and everyone's guys there, so sometimes we talk about stuff during shower time. And it's very interesting to me because I actually learned a lot from these shower sessions in my high school about the way people are brought up and the way they experience their life. It's all quite different from me. Well, before going to high school, most of the students I think are coming from public schools in China, which are these really hard schools. They teach really hard curriculums, and then we have physics, math, Chinese, English, biology, chemistry, which are a lot tougher than Western curriculums because we go more in detail about these studies. So just to give you an example, I think in middle school math, we're already dealing with geometry, which are like pretty hardcore, like if you really think about it. And in physics, in middle school, in Chinese curriculum, it's actually forced for students to learn about electricity and how to pair electricity rods, which is something that is just not specified in any of Western curriculums, at least in North America. There's no such studies in middle school, high school. So these literally just university level engineering prompts are being taught in middle school for every single person. So it's must take, and then everyone have to take these mandatory courses in order to graduate and to get a good job in the future. So it was really competitive the way people are brought up, especially for like Chinese parents. They're hoping every kid can go through the academic route to reach certain maturity and reach certain level the society will accept you as a proper functioning human being. So it's a very tough situation people are in. Just give you a little bit of background about Chinese history. So Chinese history has been circulating and then it comes back and forth, but the major themes of Chinese history hasn't changed. There are two classes of people in China: the privileged royal class. So they're pretty much royalty in comparison to like Western standards, which doesn't really exist in modern societies, in Western societies I found. So there are these royalties, which are the kind of class that always go into government. So the government and the government system is always number one in China. Businessmen or entrepreneurs always make way less money than corrupted government officials or just government officials that are making slightly more than them. So the government members are living way high quality life, and they only mostly hire, throughout the entire Chinese history, they only hire people within the royal class. So you have to be a royalty to be enrolled in Chinese government. The second way to go into Chinese government, which is to obtain the most highly valued jobs and high paid salaries, is from Song Dynasty, which is 2,000 years ago, till today it's exactly the same, which is really funny because we go through like a lot of revolutions and then we met Western standards in a lot of cases. We're somewhat colonized by the British in the 1900s, but these things haven't changed. Since 2,000 years ago, Chinese society is always building a way that if you're really good at school, if you're really good at studying, you will become part of the elites. So that's the only way. If you're born poor, if you're born as a normal class, not even poor, if you're born in a business people's class, your father's a businessman, and he might be rich, but you still consider a lower class citizen because you're not part of the royalty, you're not part of the elite. In Chinese, it's called 士人. You're not part of the most important class of gentlemen. So essentially, in order to reach the class of gentlemen, which are government officials and their descendants, you need to be able to perform very well academically. This has been true from 2,000 years ago. So it hasn't changed in China. It just right now, because every single students are so, our modern standard of living is very high. So a lot of people are competing against each other because we are privileged enough, like every single person pretty much in the entirety of China are privileged enough to go to middle school and pursue some level of education. So we know how to write and read. We know how to study math and science, which are universal. this is making the competition so much harder because you're competing against how many people? China is the #1 population of countries on planet Earth right now. Also, it's about to get overtaken by India, but leave that aside. Right now, China has the most population on the entire planet. So you're competing against everyone else in these subjects. That's why this school has become so difficult, because everyone's good. Like literally everyone's good at math if you went through a certain level of education. So the question becomes, how much better can you possibly be? So there's going to be harder and harder math questions every year to reflect how well students are doing. And then you have to do harder and harder questions to be able to even compete with the peers. So yeah, the issue is very, very like deeply rooted because there's so much population and you're trying to compete for such small number of positions that are highly regarded. If you don't make that position cut, you will live your life at best mediocrely throughout the entire life. So there's no better way, there's no alternative ways of entrepreneurship, there's no alternative way of making money that can propel you into higher social class than education. Education, unfortunately, is the most important thing in China, which is really stupid because you're here, why? So I was in these shower rooms. We're talking about our past experiences in our middle school, what have happened early on. So one of the kid, I still remember till this day, he has a dragon tattoo, but it's really horrible on his back. So this kid, he just told us in his middle school, someone has suicide. So in China, I think it's not very uncommon that the kids go kill themselves because it's very common. It's actually like a norm almost. I think every single school at least have one kid that killed himself out of like maybe 1,000 people. So this looming possibility of death is always around us. So we know people are killing themselves, definitely, because there's so much pressure. My question is, why aren't more people killing themselves, right? Based on my understanding, like I feel like more people should kill themselves because there's so much social pressures and there's so much issue ingrained in the way people live, in the way people have to live within the system. Now, this is not only about China, of course. This issue is deeply rooted in a lot of Asian countries. So by the top of my head, I know India and Iran has similar systems. So essentially, like their kids also need to work very, very hard to go through their educational exam systems to be able to pursue some level of high careers in the future. So the life paths of these kids are really linear. So when they mess up, when they know they cannot go forward with that life path, the only way left for them, for most of the kids, is unfortunately to kill themselves. So essentially, this kid in my high school just started talking about how this one kid in his high school killed himself. So he was trying to jump off a building, leap off a building, right? So just imagine someone standing 3 stories high building, on top of 3-story high building, and they're trying to jump off. And beneath him is an ocean of kids just looking at him. Some of them laughing, right? It's just kind of funny that you're killing yourself. And some of them like judging, obviously talking to each other. Some of them just waiting to see if this guy actually goes through of killing himself. So it's a very horrible situation. Now, beneath the building, there's wooden floors. So essentially, there's wooden floors beneath the building. And then the kid yelled something. My friend from the shower room didn't remember what he yelled, but he yelled something and then he leaps off the building in attempt to kill himself. He hit the wooden floor beneath him, but he didn't die right away. His body stuck in the wooden floor beneath the building, and he's still alive. He's entirely conscious. Now he's looking around, seeing people's face, shocked, appalled, some happy. He's looking at them, and then he's trying to stand back up. he could, because I think he's still not entirely injured. So he's trying to pull himself up. But at that time, because he went through the wooden floor, a piece of wood pierced through him as he's coming out of the floor, and he died there. He died not because of a jump, but because the wood has pierced through him when he's trying to get out of the ground. So this is a really heavy story. Like at that day, I feel like when we were listening to it in the shower room, like some of us just couldn't believe it. It's too harsh to hear this, because we are living in a more privileged life than these kids in public school. They're killing themselves. We had a chance to go to international school and hopefully travel abroad for study, which is very important because if you don't go abroad from China, you don't really understand the world, because a lot of the outside world is not permitted in China. We don't know a lot about foreign countries. So we didn't have a view of other possibility of life. We've been living through this one singular narratives. You were born, you live a happy first 5 years of your life maybe, and then your parents start to enroll you into hard schools for extracurricular studies in math, English, Chinese, in piano, in these music instruments that you don't really care about, right? They're trying to build you into a certain mode that will succeed in the society. And it was true. That was the only way you will succeed in a Chinese society, in life. So it's a very singular, stupid, ridiculous way to view your life, because now I understand, when I'm coming aboard and when I'm seeing other people living life differently and happily, I notice there are different ways to live life, which is obvious to any like Western people growing up. There are different ways to reach success, and then to succeed in life. There are multiple possible ways, but in China, it's not the case. So I understand. Like that's the part that hurts, right? I understand why they kill themselves. I entirely understand it. There's not a single part of me was like, okay, why? I understand fully why they would kill themselves. It's only natural. It's only natural to do that. That is a reality that a lot of people today are facing. A lot of young kids, 15, 14, 13, they're facing these kind of situations. And their brain is very young. They don't understand how to build mental toughness, how to push themselves through hard situations, because it's just so overwhelming. Imagine yourself at that age. You're a teenager. Your hormones bouncing in your body. You want to do so many things out there. But the world just telling you to do only one thing, to pursue only one way of living, to do math. What if you don't like math? A lot of people do not like math. I mean, if you go into a Western middle school, ask how many percentage of people enjoy math in Western middle schools, in maybe the US. No one actually likes it, right? Not many people actually likes it. And the majority of people are forcing themselves to be good at math, to be good at science, to be good at a lot of subjects that don't actually enjoy too much. You can argue, yes, it produced better grades. But what does this better grade lead to? In a Chinese society, everyone has good grades. Compared to a Western person, every Chinese people are more educated in mathematics, in science. So what does this good grade mean? They're still making less money than the average Western people. China is still a developing country, same as India, same as Iran. These countries are producing so much well-performing students academically. But what does this academic lead them to become? They're still working meaningless, pointless jobs, desk jobs, filling Excel files, just like Western companies and Western hires, Western people. Now, where does this education lead them to? You have to be spectacular. You have to be the 0.1% to achieve something actually great, to actually be part of the government, to actually use your position now in the government to make your life a lot better in the detriment of other people. What kind of life is that? So it's very sad. It's just very sad. I understand the entire failure of Chinese education systems. And I understand the entire failure of like maybe the Indian one and the Iranian one, because this is not the issue of one country. This matters to you because this style of education, this style of way of life, is very prevalent in the entirety of Asia, at least. I don't know about maybe Latin America, maybe places like that. In the developing world, in the global south, this is the case for the majority of people. Now this is very dangerous, because just imagine what kind of people this breed. A lot of people are gonna kill themselves. And a lot of people, when they don't kill themselves, when they actually live to a certain age to participate in society, they're sick to the stomach. I still remember in that story, the kid from the shower room mentioned that the others, the sightseers, they're laughing at the guy that killed himself. For them it is ridiculous, it is funny. It's almost like an awkward laugh. It's almost like you couldn't face the reality. That's why you choose to laugh like that. What kind of people are they? When they grow up, do they have sympathy? Can they relate to pain and suffering? Are they gonna be selfish? Of course they are. They're the most selfish people they are on the planet Earth. They're going to only serve their own interest. And this is how it is. This is the way it is, I admit it. That's the way people, at least in China, are brought up. I think in a lot of global south countries too. We're brought up in a way that's taught selfishness is a virtue. It's like the number one virtue, is thinking about yourself and then isolating your emotions from the others. Disengage with the pain and suffering of others. There's so many cases like this. That's no longer in the news that like these kids kill themselves, because this happens on a daily basis. And you'll say this is survival of the fittest. You'll say that they kill themselves because they're weak, they're unfit to pass their gene to the next generation. Maybe. But it is too cruel. I think there's certain bottom lines of being a human. Right? We are biological creatures, just like chimpanzees and monkeys. Yes, we are very similar to them in our psychology and the way our brain behaves. But I feel like we should strive for more. There is a benefit of living honorably and with virtue as a human being. There is a way that we will understand it's unjust in the society and say no more. This is insane. Stop that shit. There's are better ways to live. And there are better ways to bring change. That's myself today. This is a very heavy topic. I'm sorry, but it is the way the world works right now for a lot of people, for a lot of young kids in China. And I have to bring this news to you if you don't know about the situation they're living in. That is the case for Gaokao, for the higher high school university entry test in China. That's how it is. The young kids, they cannot bear the pain to live, so they choose a way to relieve. And that to me is understandable. That's all. Thanks.